Hey, welcome back. This week I'm going to be going over how to read notes on the rest of the fingerboard. So up until now, I've just kind of been spoon feeding you notes in open position, but I haven't talked about how to read notes higher up the fingerboard. So on the 5th fret, 9th fret, all this other stuff. So that's what I'm going to cover today, and I'm also going to be talking about how notes are structured in general, and this isn't just specific to guitar. This is like piano, clarinet, or any Western instrument. So the first thing you may have noticed that the notes are in alphabetical order as you go higher. So for example, we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and that would continue. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then I ran out of frets. But you see the point, the pattern, it goes A to G, and then back to A. Circles back around like a clock. So that's one thing. Just keep that in mind. And that'd be the same thing if you're playing a piano keyboard from like left to right. It's also going to go in alphabetical order, the same way. The other thing about guitar, and this is part of what makes reading sheet music on guitar so difficult. There are multiple places to play the same note. So for example, like this is kind of an extreme example, but the open E string, the high E, you can play that on the 5th fret of the B string. It's the same note. You can play it on the 9th fret of the G string. You can play it on the 14th fret of the D string. You can play it on the 19th fret of the A string. And if you want to go really extreme, we haven't talked about harmonics yet, but if you had 24 frets, you could play it on the low E string too. So really you can play that note on every string. When you're reading a piece of sheet music, the question comes up like, how do I know? How do I know where to play it? How do I know which string to play the note on? And we'll cover that more just as we're learning more pieces. And the biggest part of that, I think, is just practice, really. I'm saying you can play that E, that high E on all 6 strings, but really, 99% of the time, it's going to be on the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd string. And you'll get used to seeing patterns and kind of intuiting what string it's supposed to be on, or the music will tell you what string to play it on. Practice. Let me jump in. I made this sheet that shows all of the natural notes, along with a tablature staff below that shows all the options for playing that note. And I haven't put any sharps and flats here, but remember I mentioned, just remember, like, this is a G. To go sharp, you go up 1 fret. To go flat, you go down 1 fret. So G, G sharp, G, G flat. All right. So the sharps and flats are not on here. That's just to save space, and so this doesn't look too overwhelming. I haven't talked about how to read tablature before in any of my videos. I don't think. There's a good chance if you're going through these videos, you've probably already played some kind of guitar before, and you've encountered tablature. But I'll just give you a really quick overview in case this is your first time seeing it. So, this is the regular sheet music staff on top. You got the tablature staff on the bottom. The way this works is there are 6 lines on the tablature staff. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And each line represents a string on the guitar. So this line on the top is your high E string. Next line is your B string, your G string, your D string, your A string, and your low E. And then the number is the fret. So remember, frets are just numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just, again, we discussed this a long time ago, so I'm sure you have this by now. The frets are just the metal bars, and they're counted from the nut towards the bridge. So, for example, here's the high E here that I was showing a minute ago. See the 0 on the first string? That's showing that that's an option, just to play it open first string. You can also play it on the 5th fret of the 2nd string. You can play it on the 9th fret of the 3rd string, 14th fret of the D string, 19th fret of the A string. And I didn't mark the harmonic on here because that's too much to put on here. I'll cover harmonics in a later video. But yeah, these are all the notes on the fingerboard that you really need to know. Some notes, maybe it's worth mentioning. Some of the notes, like the low E, for example, that first note here all the way on the left, like there's only one option for playing that because it's the lowest string on the guitar. It's the same when you get up to the top here, the highest notes. Since the high E is the highest string on the guitar, there's only one option for playing it. Again, excluding harmonics. But as you get towards the middle, there's this whole region here where you have more options, different ways to play the same note. So yeah, I would say in the future I may be giving some more pieces that have higher notes in them. And I would say just print this out. Again, it's in a PDF, link below, and just put it next to the music. And eventually you'll memorize these. When I first learned how to read sheet music, I did the same thing that I started this video series with, and just kind of doing like open position and spoon feeding myself the notes. And then from there, a lot of methods and books and stuff from there will start talking about like 5th position and give you all these same notes in the same kind of style, right? Where they're just giving, one string at a time or whatever. I didn't actually do that when I learned how to read sheet music and how to play guitar. What I did is I learned the open position, and then I learned where all the notes are and learned how to figure out where they all are. And from there I just jumped in and started reading music. And I found music that had like maybe shorts. Maybe it was like mostly open position, but had like a few measures up here in the higher notes. And eventually I got better at reading all those, and that'll happen with you too if you practice enough. So yeah, I'll stop there. There is a little bit more on this page, but I don't want to make this video too long, so I'll save that for next week. There'll be a part 2 to this. We're going to be talking about major scales and keys, and that'll be fun. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please like. If it was helpful, please subscribe if you want to be notified when the next video is uploaded. And thanks for stopping by.